this second panel to come on stage. First participant is Mr. Professor Hattiaracci of the University of Calgary. He's in this session. Please. Then I would like to ask Mr. Abedi, project head of RAMKey, to join us. Then Mr. Asit Nema of the Foundation for Green Tech Environmental Systems, please. Ms. Padmini Ranawat of the UVNP Environmental Management from Austria, welcome, please have a seat. And finally, Mr. Yusuke Tanaka of Plant Corporation from Japan. My own name is Thomas Vogler. I'm the head of project management at Hitachi Zosen, India. It is an honor for me to moderate this session, and that we can catch up some time. Before I start, I would like to pick up from a recent discussion about terms and definitions. So whenever I talk about incineration or waste energy technology, I use it in a scientific form. That means, I mean by that, it is a controlled combustion process in a controlled environment in order to meet all kinds of emission norms. It can be European norms, Japanese norms, American norms, whatever it is. So this kind of technology, as it is used scientifically, actually should be in the middle of a city, not as we have heard before. It's very important to confuse people. Because, as we have heard many times, we have also the NIMBY problem in India, and when we use these terms, even in sessions like this, no wonder that the population will get confused and will start being afraid of technologies which are very normal in the rest of the world. When you go to Europe, when you go to America, when you go to Japan, you'll find these kind of plants in the middle of the city. Because only if they're in the middle of the city, actually using all of their advantages. One of the most important advantages of incineration technology is that it is close to the city. And that means that you can get a lot of transportation costs and in the end, a lot of environmental impact on the environment. So building an incineration plant outside of a city does not make much sense. So I would like to give a short introduction before we start with the speakers here. This session is about issues of the industry. Now, in India, there is not many players in this sector yet. That's why I would like to take this chance and talk about the issues we are facing. Now, my name, or myself, I don't look very Indian. The name Hitachi Zosen does not sound very Indian. However, we are the first, and so far only, Indian waste-to-energy company. We're the first ones which have established an office in the middle of India, which is in Hyderabad. So, at the same time, Hitachi Zosen is actually a Swiss-based company by Japanese owners, Hitachi Zosen. They are the market leaders in the world when it comes to processed waste quantities. We have 480 reference plants all over the world. We have started in 1939 in the Netherlands to commission our first plant. So I would say we are experts when it comes to waste-to-energy technology. However, as we have heard in Mumbai in August, and also this morning and this afternoon, in India it is very important that you do not just bring the foreign technologies. And this is what I would really like to emphasize. We are not here to force foreign solutions upon India. That is why we came to India. That is one of the main reasons we have established one of the offices here in Hyderabad. Now, as I said, we are talking about the issue. I would like to give a 5-minute speech about the issues that we are facing. We are in Hyderabad since April last year. We have set up the office from scratch. By now we are about 20 people. And the issues which you're facing, technology provider, and that is important to understand. We are a technology provider. We're not a developer. So we're not delivering solutions. We are only, I would say, in an optimal setup, we are only a small part in an optimal waste management setup. So technology is not the problem. Many other countries have gone the exactly same path India is going at the moment. Technology-wise, I would say everything exists. India does not have to invent new technologies, solutions. But there has to be an Indian solution, because otherwise it will not work. So what are the issues when you want to find an Indian solution? There is many issues. I will focus on only 3. First one, and the most important, the low target price, I call it. Second one, the low calorific value. And the last and third one is the lack of data. These are 3 issues which I would like to talk about. The low target price. Us as a commercial company, of course, that is giving us a lot of struggle. Why is it that way? One reason, of course, is that the price level in India is quite low, as we all know. So we can only sell our product if we are able to sell at the local price level. And the reason that we have learned in Mumbai and also this morning is that there are no tariff structures in place. So the developers who are developing these kind of projects, they are really struggling in building up a financial model which is attractive or which is even financially viable. Another reason which has the same effect is the gate fee confusion, I would call it. The market is highly confused when it comes to gate fees, when it comes to how much should it cost to actually dispose waste. As we have heard, there is even people propagating that you should collect money when you bring waste, which is completely wrong. The basic mindset should be, as in most of the other countries, that you have to pay something if you want to properly dispose it. Yes, you can produce some energy, but in the end, you have to pay some money in order to have a clean environment. It is never for free. So, how do we do that? How can we sell a waste incineration plant at such a low cost? When I say low cost, it is about 4 times cheaper than it is in Europe. Our product we sell approximately with, I would say, 12 crores per megawatt. In Europe, you would pay about 40 crores for that same megawatt which you want to produce. So how is it possible to build such a plant here in India at such a low cost? There is different issues. The most important, and that I already mentioned, is you have to be present in India. Any kind of vendor, any kind of technology provider who is sitting in Europe or in the US and is trying to sell you something, forget it. It's impossible, because he can only be competitive, he can only be attractive for you if he himself is sitting in India. If he is able to source at local prices, if he is able to pay his people at local wages. Otherwise, it is very difficult. I've calculated, if I only call one of my colleagues sitting in Switzerland, I have to pay him 120 rupees per minute if I only talk to him on the phone. So that is why coming to India is one and the most important of our strategic measures which we have taken in order to be able to sell incineration plants in India. Another measure you have to take, I already mentioned, you have to source in India. And I tell you, 100% of the components which are in an incineration plant are available in India. There is nothing you have to import. If someone tries to make you believe you have to buy it in Europe or in the US, it's not true. Waste-to-energy plants are not rockets. Common technology as it is available in India since many, many years when it comes to components. Then, very important, you have to reduce the scope. you cannot build the same plant as it is in Europe. When you go to Europe, you will find incineration plants, they look like shopping malls, my colleague said this morning. And it's true, they are highly sophisticated, they are decorated and golden, there is lots of civil in it, lots of buildings, lots of, yeah, they really look like buildings, not like industrial plants. So in order to sell a plant in India, you have to reduce scope as much as possible. The highest effect you will reach by reducing civil, I mentioned it. So when you see an Indian plant, or when you will see a typical Indian plant, one which will be common, I would say, 20 years, it will not have much civil. It will be an open setup, an open technology, without a cover, without the house surrounding it. Then you reduce everything else which is not related to the process. The process you have to sustain, of course, safety and environment you have to sustain, but everything else you reduce, you take it away, so that you really only have a very fundamental setup for the scope. And last but not least, the second most important is standardization. At the moment, at least, it is not possible, I would say, or no, it is only possible for the Chinese to sell tailorized plants in India. In the rest of the world, or in Europe, US, and in Japan, all the plants are tailorized. It means the client comes, and he tells you exactly what he wants. Whatever he wants, you will build for him. So that means each time you will start engineering, concept engineering, you do it all over again from scratch. But of course, that includes a lot of expenses, a lot of internal costs, and increases the capex dramatically. So in India, at the moment, saying maybe it will be different in 20 years, at the moment, you can only be financially viable if you have a plant which is already concept-wise engineered. You cannot start with everything all over again. The Chinese, they claim they can do that, or the Chinese, they can do that because the price level is even lower or same level as in India. However, that will change. We are convinced that will change. It is increasing also in China. And clients are facing problems with Chinese vendors, as some of you probably know. It is the language problems. It is documentation, especially because when you want to build such a plant or buy a plant, it's not only the building of the plant, it's also the operation and maintenance and the warranty periods. And whenever you want to refurbish something, you have to have your company who can take care of it. With Chinese vendors, it might be difficult. So, low target price. We have developed our local 580. Mr. Rao has explained that in Mumbai in detail. It contains all these measures and it allows us to sell at a very attractive price in India. The situation is that we have not sold one so far. Everyone probably knows. The reasons are that we have just started last year in April. We have started to set up. By end of last year or by beginning of this year, we were actually ready. We have trained the people. We have finished the engineering. So since this year, we are actually able to execute projects in India, and we will. The second issue, and they will be shorter, low calorific value. Please forget that waste is a problem in India. This is the mindset of the people due to some bad experiences from the past. It is true, these plants have failed. But these plants have failed. One reason is at that time the calorific value was even lower because the value is increasing, as we know, once a country develops. And the other reason is that these companies involved did not have, I would say, all the proper experience which is required to build a plant in India. I'm not saying that it is not a problem, the low calorific value, but you need to have experience to know how to handle it. So how will you do that? When I say low calorific value, our plant will be able to handle from 1100 upwards, 1100 kilocalories per kg. And everything which is below is not possible, I would say, to incinerate, neither for us nor for everybody else. This is not a problem for India because I think these municipalities think their calorific value is lower than 1100. These municipalities have other problems than building incineration plants, I would say. Because, as we know, only when you have reached a certain stage of urbanization or development, such as Mumbai and Delhi and all these cities, only then you will come to the situation where you want to address these problems. What do you do with the waste? And that is why it is true, India as a whole country, there is places where it is too low, the calorific value, but in these places no one will build a plant anyway. India is big enough, there is so many urban areas, so many cities, there is absolutely not an issue. So very quickly, how do we address this? It is technology, it is a very common technology. It's a large great area, it is a properly controlled primary air in the combustion process, and it is a long residence time of the waste on the ground. So for the experts beyond you, this is not rocket science. This is very easy to implement, and it is not an issue. Waste calorific value is not an issue when it comes to incineration. Finally, and to conclude, is the lack of data, which is giving us trouble being here in India. That we have clearly identified last time in Mumbai. Mr. Sastry of Ramki has pointed that out, that also they are facing that problem. Whenever you want to develop a project, you don't have the data. In other countries, you know everything about calorific value, about waste composition, about operational experiences. In India, it's all new. So even the clients, they are most of the time highly confused. Usually, in Europe, the clients will come to you and they will tell you exactly, that's the calorific value, that's the composition, I need this and that. In India, of course, that cannot be the case because the experience is not there yet. So, to conclude my introduction, I would like to take this chance to address all the universities or all the representatives of the universities sitting here. Please be aware of this problem. Whenever you have students who are looking for a subject, for a thesis, or whatever they want to do, we are more than happy to accompany such a student or to give him a topic, because in India there is so much of this basic research that can be done. Thank you.